The horrifying torture and murder of Junko Fruta, a 44-day nightmare. The 1989 murder of Junko Fruta stands as one of the most brutal cases of prolonged torture in criminal history. Over 44 days, 4 teenage boys subjected a 16-year-old girl to unspeakable horrors, rape, mutilation, burning, and psychological torment, before finally killing her. The sheer sadism of the perpetrators, combined with the failure of authorities and witnesses to intervene, makes this case a chilling study in human cruelty. Junko Fruta. Date of born 1972. Date of death 1989. A 16-year-old high school student from Misato, Saitama, Japan, who was described as kind, hardworking, and well-liked by peers. She had dreams of becoming a saleswoman after graduation. She was an only child, and her parents adored her, making her disappearance even more devastating. The 4 main murderers were all members of a violent teenage Yakuza-affiliated gang including Hiroshi Miyano, 18 years old. The ringleader, a known delinquent with a criminal family. His father was a Yakuza member, and Hiroshi often boasted about his connections. Joe Ogura, 17 years old. Known for extreme violent tendencies. He was the most sadistic of the group, often escalating the torture. Shinji Minato, 17 years old. Participated in gang rapes and was known for his cruelty. And lastly, Yasushi Watanabe, 16 years old. The youngest, but actively involved in the torture. 2 others, including Watanabe's older brother, were involved but received lesser sentences. The beginning of horror. On November 25, 1988, Junko was walking home from school when Hiroshi Miyano and his gang tricked her into their car under the pretense of needing help. Upon realizing the danger, she resisted, so they beat her unconscious and took her to Miyano's house. Miyano's parents were home the entire time but ignored her screams. The house became Junko's torture prison for the next 44 days. First phase of the torture: psychological torture and gang rape. She was stripped naked and chained to a bed. All 4 boys and later accomplices raped her repeatedly, sometimes over 100 times a day. She was forced to call her parents and tell them she was running away, ensuring no search efforts. The boys filmed some assaults as trophies. They humiliated her by making her lick their shoes and call them master. Second phase: physical torture escalates. They extinguished cigarettes on her skin and held lighters to her face. They inserted fireworks into her vagina and anus before lighting them. They used glass bottles and baseball bats to rape her, causing internal bleeding. They cut her genitals with knives and poured hot wax inside her. They kicked and punched her until her ribs broke, and dropped barbells on her stomach while she was tied down. They also hanged her from the ceiling and beat her with golf clubs. They forced her to masturbate in front of them at gunpoint. They starved her. She was only fed small amounts of milk. They made her beg for death and laughed when she cried. The last phase: the final days. By the end of December, Junko was severely mutilated and barely human-looking. Because of her infected wounds, she smelled of rot. They sprayed air freshener on her instead of helping. Her eyes were swollen shut from beatings. Her fingers were broken, and her teeth were knocked out. Her skin was covered in burns and cuts. On January 4, 1989, the boys realized she was dying. To silence her, they kicked her in the head repeatedly. They doused her in lighter fluid and set her on fire. They beat her with an iron barbell until she finally died. Her body was stuffed into a concrete-filled drum and dumped in a landfill. A tip from an ex-gang member led police to the barrel on March 29, 1989. Forensic reports showed her every bone were broken, her organs were ruptured, and evidence of prolonged torture was unseenable. The boys bragged about the crimes at school, showing off photos of her suffering. Despite the extreme brutality, they were sentenced to shockingly light sentences. All 4 killers received only 5 to 20 years. Japan's juvenile laws protected them. 3 were free by 1999, living under new identities. Only Hiroshi Miyano, who later reoffended, served a full 20 years. No one was charged with murder, just bodily injury resulting in death. In aftermath of the case, Junko's parents fought for harsher sentences but were ignored. The Miyano family even sued Junko's parents for emotional distress. Many involved live normal lives today, while the case remains a symbol of justice denied. One of the most chilling aspects of the case is the number of people who knew but did nothing, including Miyano's parents. They were aware of Junko's captivity but ignored her screams. Neighbors. Several heard her cries for help but chose not to intervene. Schoolmates. The boys bragged about the torture, yet no one reported it. Junko Furuta's murder represents one of history's worst documented torture cases due to duration: 44 days of non-stop abuse. Sadism: extreme torture beyond killing. Systemic failure: police being unable to capture a kidnapped teenager for 44 days. Junko Furuta. Her name remains a rallying cry against unchecked cruelty, which inspired films, books, and songs.